Hello everyone, welcome back to Daily Downshift. I'm quite excited about this one because today I will be discussing potential mods for your C8. Now, we already have a few modifications for our C8 planned, and we're kind of just sitting around here twiddling our thumbs waiting for our order, just like many of you out there. Nonetheless, I did a bit of research and had a think about potential upgrades to your C8. So let me begin. Obviously, it will first depend on what kind of spec you opt for. If you go for the Z51 package, then you will arguably need or want less modifications. If you're really trying to go mod heavy, then it may be best to opt for a base model and just work up from there. So this video will strictly consider exterior appearance modifications. If there's any demand, I will make a video pertaining to engine modifications and horsepower upgrades because there are a few things that can be done there. So first and foremost, wheels. I think Chevrolet have done their part and provided enough rim options, but I personally don't love any of them in particular. So for me, those definitely have to be swapped out ASAP. I've also spoken with a lot of the older guys who are dissatisfied with not having the chrome wheel option. And because of that reason is exactly why I think most people will start their modification journey with the rims. I'm a very big fan of the C7 Z06 OEM rims, or at least some rims that are concave in design. Without well-designed rims, the stance of the car just doesn't look as appealing, so these alone should drastically change the look of the car. I'm quite thrilled to see the C8s with the aftermarket rims swapped once they're out. Speaking of stance, you can do some suspension modifications, but if you have the Z51 package with the magnetic ride, then you're obviously not touching it. I personally wouldn't play with the suspension even if you don't have the mag ride, because the car has already been engineered to where it needs to be for optimal performance. There are some factory setups that I really don't like to touch unless of course there's a very strong case for it. But realistically speaking, if you're daily driving this car like we will, you really don't need to play with this. In sticking with aesthetic modifications, I think it's paramount that every single C8 owner at some point purchase a ground effects kit as long as it includes an aggressive front splitter. Again, just like with the wheels, I love the splitter on the C7 Z06. The current option from Chevrolet is a bit expensive, so you can go aftermarket, or if you don't care about the carbon weave, it will be significantly cheaper to go with a plastic or carbon flash type kit. If we're being completely truthful with you, our viewers, we're 100% going to scrape the front splitter, so I don't think there's a point in us opting for a carbon fiber product. We actually drive our cars, so this will not be a garage queen. Either way, scrape or no scrape, I believe the car needs a much more aggressive lip like the one on the C8R. Will it do much for the aerodynamics? Honestly, probably not, but it will look fantastic. Let's briefly speak about the paint. You can PPF your C8, which stands for Paint Protection Film. This will be a clear film that's thicker than a colored vinyl wrap and will do much more in terms of protecting your paint. Simply put, it's not going to be cheap to install, but there's no denying that it really does work. And if you don't opt for a full wrap of the vehicle, which will really cost an exorbitant amount of money, you can at least consider having the front bumper done, as that's where the majority of debris will be hitting your car. If you've ever washed your own vehicle, you'll know that the front fascia's paint gets absolutely destroyed. Some people can justify PPF and some can't. It just really depends on if you're daily driving and how much you care. Alternatively, if you want to do something unique and color wrap your car, then this can be done as well. There is some level of protection with a color wrap, but it is far less than the PPF because it is significantly thinner. It's also not going to be cheap because to get it done right, they will be removing body panels just so that they can tuck as much vinyl as possible. The upside of this color wrap though is that you will have something truly unique and you can go as crazy as you desire with any design that you want. Let's talk about the rear wing. Again, this is something that I am not in love with, that being both the high wing and the Z51 spoiler. The only consideration depends on if you will be going for an aftermarket 4-post design or a 2-post. If you get the Z51 package or the high wing spoiler, then you will have 4 drilled holes on your trunk to deal with. So it would be much more difficult to transition to a 2-post design if you opted for either spoiler. If you have a strong inclination to purchase and install an aftermarket spoiler, then I would definitely advise you to keep it simple without the spoiler until you've made up your mind. So how exactly do you mount the 2-post spoiler? Well, I'm not really sure yet. But if you've seen the C8 Hennessy renderings or the C8R, then you know that the 2-post spoiler is a beauty and it may be worth it just to wait and figure it out. Last but not least, well, it should have been first because for the majority of people, this will be the very first thing they do, and it's barely even a modification. Window tints. An absolute no-brainer. It makes the entire car look visually more appealing, and there's some sort of benefit for your interior in terms of reducing leather wear and reducing in-car temperature by blocking thermal energy. Now, I haven't mentioned the interior because, frankly, I don't think it needs any improvements. I've heard that some people aren't pleased about the shape of the steering wheel, so that's potentially something that can be swapped once they come out with aftermarket options. Maybe they can make something that isn't a squircle. Again, I've sat in the car, but I have obviously not driven it, and maybe I will have different feelings towards it when that time comes. But I don't see an issue with it at this point. I'd leave the interior as is. So these are modifications that I think are necessary and will improve the car. These mainly concern the vehicle's aesthetic looks. We will also be putting out a video detailing mods that we will be doing to our own C8, obviously in due time, so stay tuned for that one. That's gonna do it for me, guys. Hopefully you really agree with some of the modification recommendations. Let me know in the comments what other modifications can be done and what you're planning for your own C8. Also, if you do have a C7, I would love to hear what owners have done with those. And as always, if you enjoy our content, please like and consider subscribing. We definitely have a C8 coming, it's just a waiting game right now. So thank you for watching and drive safe.